Hello and welcome to the Art of Selling Online Courses. The goal of this podcast is to share winning strategies and secret hacks from top performers in the online course industry. My name is John Ainsworth and today's guest is my funnel strategy lead, Josip Belina. Josip is one of the smartest people I know. He trained as a biomedical scientist, but I managed to tempt him away into the world of online funnels. He is an expert in data analysis, funnel and promo strategies, and automation. He is responsible for reviewing all of our clients' data and their funnels and identifying what the ideal funnel for them would be and helping them to be able to plan that out and build that ideal funnel in order to increase their revenue. This podcast is going to be different as we're going to be talking today, instead of one specific project, we're going to talk about increasing opt-in rates, getting more visitors onto your email list. More visitors to the email list means more people who are going to be buying your courses. Now, before we start learning from Josip, I want to mention our sponsor. Today's sponsor is my company, Data Driven Marketing. And what we do is we help online course creators increase their online course revenue 20 to 100% through strategic funnel optimization. We help you convert more visitors to leads, more leads to sales, and increase revenue per sale. We do this through email marketing, webinars, tripwire funnels, and more. Go to datadrivenmarketing.co/calculator to find out how much more you could be making from your courses with the ideal funnel. Josip, welcome to the show.
Hey, very happy to be here.
So tell everybody, just let's start right back at the basics. What is a lead magnet?
So basically a lead magnet is a way to get your future customers in your email. You want to get their email address so that you can then follow up with them and just share valuable content in your office. So basically the first step in any opt-in funnel.
So if somebody's currently got on their website a newsletter opt-in, what could they do to improve that? What is the lead magnet versus just having a sign up to our newsletter list?
A lead magnet needs to be something valuable, something useful for people to, when they see it, they need to be like, hey, I want this, I need that. A newsletter isn't just sexy enough to have as your main lead magnet. People don't just want to hear from you, they want to hear valuable information from you. So you need to have something that will attract them, something that will be a no-brainer for them when it comes to just thinking, should I give my email address to these guys? So it needs to be easily consumable, it needs to be in their face. So it's a split decision. People are on your website, they're browsing through, probably reading your blog content. You need to catch their attention. So you need to show them, hey, yes, you are reading this, but here is another thing connected to what you're reading now that you will benefit from. Get it now and continue.
Yeah, and we just generally see that a newsletter doesn't really meet the standards for that, don't we? It's like, it's fine. Some people will opt in, but the most I think I've seen with a newsletter is about 0.5% of the traffic opting in. So stuff that tends to work well as lead magnets is, I think, generally stuff that's pretty easily consumable, isn't it? So something that people can look at, go, great, I like this, I want this straight away. What's some examples of things you've seen that make a good lead magnet?
It depends on what the niche is, but it needs to be very useful for them. So for example, for digital painters, we've had brushing, which is something that everyone uses. Literally, if you are doing stuff in Photoshop, you need brushes. For people who are into self-development, they like to meditate. So free meditations work well. Ebooks, checklists. So something that you can use relatively quickly to see your results improving by just a few percentage points. So if you have an online business where you need to plan your days, a checklist to see what to do in that day is useful. If you have a business that's into tracking, a checklist as to what you need to track or what you need to set up when first setting up your Google Analytics is an awesome thing. It needs to be relevant also for that particular time. For example, now Google Analytics is changing to GA4. So a lead magnet for one of our customers that's around GA4 migration checklist is amazing. People just want to learn more about it. So it needs to be relevant and it needs to be easily consumable. So ebooks, checklists, general.
So let's say that someone's listening to this and they think, well, I've already got a good lead magnet, but I don't know if I've got a good opt-in rate. What kind of numbers should people be looking at to tell if they are already doing well with this or not?
You mentioned that newsletter signups, you can get up to, let's say, 0.5%. Generally, that's what you will see with most people, anywhere from 0.5 to 1%. That's what most people have. I would say that's a low end. If you have around 2% conversion rate from visitors to leads, that would be considered decent. So anywhere from 2+% up to around 5% is very, very good. And anything that's more than 5% is just amazing.
Nice. And for anybody who hates maths, how do you calculate what your opt-in rate is?
That part is pretty straightforward. You basically get the number of people who are coming to your website, and you get the number of people that are opting in. You then divide the number of people who opt in by the number of people who've seen your website or certain part of the website. You then multiply it by 100, and that basically gives you a percentage, which means that if you have 10 people opting in and 100 people have seen that page or an opt-in, that's a 10% opt-in rate. So 10 divided by 100 times 100.
Perfect. All right. So if someone's heard that and they're like, okay, I think I've got a decent lead magnet, but I've still got a 0.5% opt-in rate or a 1% opt-in rate, and I'd love to get way more email subscribers, what should they do?
First, they need to know that analysis is important. Google Analytics, the basic, everyone should have that set up. If you are not using WordPress, if you're using other landing page websites, they probably have analytics installed. So you should be able to easily calculate your traffic. When you have that, make sure you track the number of email signups. Ideally, you can associate that by date. And then you do the analysis. So without going into too much deep of an analysis, the most important thing is to go in the past 3 to 6 months to see the trends and figure out what's happening on a weekly basis. You want to see those numbers on a weekly basis. That's basically a step 0 in a 4-step process of improving your lead magnets. So make sure you know your numbers, make sure you understand your analytics so that you can tell us, or when you're reviewing your business, you can be sure, okay, my opt-in rate is around 0.9%. I want it to be higher. So that's step 0, understanding what needs to be done. When you know that, the next step, the step 1, is then strategizing what to do. And there is an 80-20 approach to it. Step 1, you don't have to do anything complicated. So first thing that you need to do is basically understand, okay, this is my lead magnet. I want to use that lead magnet, and these are my top performing pages. So if you have 100 pages on your website, you probably get most of your traffic on around 20 or so. It's mostly blog posts, stuff that you promote on social, and your homepage. So focus on optimizing those first. Figure out which pages get the most traffic and optimize them. Now, there is a way to optimize them. So what we do first is we focus on the user experience and user interface. Basically, lead magnets need to look good. And you should not annoy too much your customers with lead magnets. So they need to be natural. It needs to look like it's part of the website. One way that we optimize is we focus on the hero section. So the hero section, or above the fold section, is that first part of the website that you see when you land on it. It needs to have a clear call to action. So do that first, then create inline forms. Inline forms are especially good for your blog posts. Generally, blog traffic, you get a lot of traffic on your blog, probably 80% of it. So using your blog posts as lead generation is important, the most important ones at least. So add inline forms, and we are going to show the inline forms, the graphics. We are going to show how those look. Then add pop-ups, add sidebar banner. It should be a sticky banner so that when you scroll, it follows you. There is then the bottom banner. We have that on our website, and it proves to work really, really well. And there is one thing that you should also look at, landing page. A lot of our clients don't optimize their landing pages. So a landing page is not just simply adding a form. You need to think about it. You need to have a strategy, why it looks a certain way. So this is basically a step 1, all of that combined. So,
wow. Okay. So let's go back over that then. So what we've got is step 0 is know what your numbers are to start with. So not just right now, but go back and look at it over the last number of weeks, because that way, if there's anything that varies, you're going to be able to see, did it go up or did it go down? I made some changes. Has it improved now? And you can see if there've been weird trends. I know we've seen some stuff before where someone's had a good opt-in rate and then it's dropped and you're like, oh, turns out something's broken. Something got broken right here, and we can see that, go in and fix it. Okay, so step 0, go and understand your numbers, understand what you've got at the moment. Step 1 is then set up inline opt-in forms in your blog posts. Stuff above the fold on the most popular pages, especially the homepage and maybe some other most popular pages, have a sidebar and have a bar down at the bottom as well. Okay, so that's step 1. Did I get that right?
That's step 1. And there is one more thing that should be implemented. Do not use landing page redirect. So when someone is reading your blog, the button, when they click it, it shouldn't move them away from the content. They might not want to opt in at that stage. So instead of using landing pages are good for paid traffic and social media traffic. But for on-site organic traffic, it's better to use pop-ups. It greatly improves user experience.
Okay, so someone's on your blog post, they scroll halfway down, they see one of these inline opt-in forms, which is going to be a button promoting your lead magnet. They click the button and it brings up the pop-up.
Exactly.
And that increases the opt-in rate. Got it. Yeah, we've seen that go up, I think about 20%, the opt-in rate from using a button versus using just a form embedded. It seems like it's kind of a micro commitment, like someone's clicked the button to get started and then like, oh, I need to give my email. Okay, well, I already started on this. I'll keep going with it. So that's how I understand the psychology. What I definitely know is it works. So that's the crucial thing.
That's true.
All right. So what's next?
There is basically, that's step 1. And it's easily implementable in like a week. We have done it in a week. It doesn't have to be perfect. It shouldn't be perfect. It just has to be there. So when you have that, continue to track it. That's also part of the step 1. And then have it run for a week or so, maybe 2 weeks, and then review what happened. That's step 2, placement and optimization. Once you do the placement part, so once you do the 80-20, after a week or 2, you will see the data coming in, you will see the performance being better, at least it should be better, but you will also spot opportunities, maybe more lead magnets on certain pages, maybe other pages that also get traffic, figuring out whether the user experience is on point, whether you can do something else to improve that. So that's basically step 2, figuring out what missed opportunities were during step 1, and just having all of that expanding on the rest of the website. So after step 0, 1, and 2, you should have 80% of your website covered with lead magnets and at least an exit intent pop-up.
Got it. Okay, cool. So step 0 was know your numbers. Step 1 was implement this. It almost sounds like step 1 is maybe not quick and dirty. Maybe that's not quite right, but just crack on. Doesn't have to be perfect. Get these opt-in forms in a bunch of different places so people can see them throughout your blog posts, on your most visited pages, in the sidebar, all of those places with a pop-up. Then step 2 is go back and analyze that and look at, do you have any pages that have got a bunch of traffic that you missed? Is it increased your opt-in rate? How is that working? Is there anything in there that's broken? Just trying to understand what's worked and then optimize a bit further. Is that right?
Yes.
Cool. Okay. So there's more steps. What's step 3?
Yeah. Step 3 can bring you a lot more leads. So now you have optimized your on-site lead magnet acquisition, but you probably have other sources. So Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, other social media channels. Step 3 would be to really focus on that landing page that we don't want you to send traffic from your website, but we want you to send the traffic from other places on the internet there. So optimize that. There are people who have millions of users on their social media platforms, but they are not doing anything with them. Do more posts on social media, send people to the landing page and get more leads. So optimize your social media lead intake by creating a landing page, and the landing page there, generally what you can expect in terms of percentages is more than 50 to 80% we see. People are interested in your content at that stage, so allow them to opt in. Unfortunately, Facebook maybe does allow you to opt in, but YouTube doesn't allow you to generate leads. So you need to figure out a way to point them to your landing page. So focus on your YouTube description, on your bio, and just post more and send people to a well-optimized landing page. Also, the landing page should have a pop-up rather than just a bar where you add in your information. Probably due to that micro commitment, when they click the CTA, it will show the pop-up and it will be clear to them what the next step is.
Just for everybody, what is CTA?
It's a call to action button.
Perfect. Okay, so now we're getting traffic from offsite, from whether you've got YouTube or Instagram or Pinterest or Facebook or LinkedIn or whatever it is, wherever people are coming from or wherever you've got an audience, getting them over to that landing page. Okay, so that could be, if it's on YouTube, you've got something in the description, a pinned post at the top, a pinned comment, could be in the video itself, a bunch of different places. And I think we've got a whole system about that, don't we? So you're getting more people through to that landing page. Now, those opt-in rates that you were saying were extraordinary. So up to 80% of people will opt in. Most people might not know this, but generally a landing page, if you're going from paid traffic, is going to be maybe 30 or 40%. And if you're going from an on-site, someone's come to your site through Google and they click on a button, if you did have a landing page, which we've said you shouldn't, but if they did have that and they click from the button through to the landing page, that's generally about 40% maybe. So this is up to 80%. And yet people aren't even ever sending that traffic through. So that is a huge amount of potential for people. Have you got any numbers in terms of results that we've seen from people with sending people through in terms of the number of extra leads they've been able to get?
Yes, so we had one client last year who basically doubled the lead intake through just sending people from his YouTube channel and Instagram, YouTube channel mostly. So it works. What other examples do we have? I can't think of anything right now other than that guy, but we have another client at the moment. So we have done step number 2 just on the 15th, so 3 days ago. We did step number 2. It increased conversions by around 25% in terms of lead intake. Next is step number 3, and we are expecting to get, just to put this in context, they were getting 100 leads a week 3 weeks ago. Now they are getting around 800 after step number 1.
Wow. That's after step 1. They've gone from 100 to 800. That's awesome. Okay.
So step number 2 will probably get that to around 130, 150, which is currently happening. And then step number 3, because of the number of people on Facebook, Instagram, will probably get that to more than 10,000 a month just from organic.
Wow. Wow. Okay, so there's some pretty huge potential here that is untapped. All right, so far we've had step 0 was about understanding your current numbers. Step 1 was about setting up the lead magnet and the most visited pages on the site and improving your landing page if you've got one. Step 2 was to go back and analyze it and find where you had any problems and improve it. Step 3 is your off-site optimization, so YouTube, Pinterest, Instagram, etc., all that kind of thing. What's step 4?
Step 4 is ongoing optimization and review and split testing. Basically, if you are not split testing, you are wasting time. You can split test headlines, you can test offers, you can split test placement and positioning. So after you are happy with steps 1, 2, and 3, you will have the data, you will be getting used to tracking it on a weekly basis, and you should be tracking it on a weekly basis. Then the next step is just figuring out what to do better. Depending on the number of your leads, 0.2% in opt-in could be a difference between not having money and having like 100,000 extra in an annual revenue.
That much? That big of a difference?
It very depends on the number of leads that you are getting, but we have seen people who have made a lot of money just by simply doing a simple thing like removing their double opt-in, and they've basically doubled or tripled their lead intake and revenue subsequently.
So this is pretty huge then. So people can increase their revenue enormously. They might have an extra $100,000 or maybe even more sitting on the table. They're just not accessing because they're not implementing these things, and maybe they don't even know that it's there. Okay, that's pretty huge. So step 4 is going back and reviewing everything, optimizing, keeping track of it, split testing.
We'll actually add a step -1 for anyone that's listening. So if you have a double opt-in, remove the double opt-in.
Okay.
That's a step -1. That's what you do before you start reviewing your numbers.
Got it. Turn off double opt-in. Yes. It's interesting, isn't it? The idea with double opt-in is that somebody comes to your site, they opt in, and then, but do they give their real email address? Are you going to have a bad email address on your list? Or are they not someone who's really that interested? And it's weird. It's like, why do you want to make it so hard for somebody to get onto your email list? And so by turning that, I think of it almost like, I don't know, you ask somebody out and they say yes. And then you message them later and say, did you definitely want to go out? If yes, reply to this again. It's like, they've already said yes. Don't be weird about this. It's really strange. Like if somebody isn't opening any of your emails after like 30 days or 60 days, fine, take them off your list. But why get so, I just find that first one really odd. And it costs people a fortune in lost sales because some of those people who didn't click the double opt-in would buy your stuff and you have just said to them no.
We have found around probably 300,000-400,000 people when working with different clients that were not confirmed. And that's huge. That's millions of dollars that are those people are never going to get again. So
yeah,
that's a shame. So step -1, remove double opt-in.
Got it. All right, cool. So how about some examples of what this looks like? And for anybody who's watching the video, you can watch along. And otherwise, I'm going to describe what it is that we're seeing. Of course, you can always watch the videos of this at our Facebook group, Advanced Online Course Creators, and all these videos are in there.
We can show a few examples. So I will share my screen, and I mentioned this today. So here is one example. This is the latest one. I'm not going to name the client because the client wants to stay anonymous, but we have started with step 1 here. So on the 4th of March this year, we have implemented lead magnets throughout the website. Basically, everything that we described during step 1 is visible here.
So we're going from about 8 to 20 leads a day was the range, probably averaging about 13, 14, up to looking like it averages about 80, with the highest day being 292 new leads. Wow, that is an enormous increase, isn't it? It's like 6 times, maybe 5 or 6 times more leads. Okay.
And if you look at the very end of this here, on the 15th of March, we have implemented step number 2. Step number 2, it looks like it's still too early to tell, but it looks like this will be an increase of around 30%, maybe 15 to 30% once fully optimized in the number of leads. So that's going up. And then step number 3, when we do that, it's going to be very interesting to see how that affects the result.
Yeah, so you're thinking step 3, this might go up from, started about 15 a day, gone up to about 80 or 90. Then it looks like it's gone up to maybe 120. And you're thinking maybe that might go to 300. We don't know yet. We'll see what that is.
Yeah, hopefully it will. And I'm actually looking forward to reporting on that in about 2 to 4 weeks.
Nice. Very exciting. All right, cool. So that means that these guys potentially can make, like in a year's time, when they've got a huge amount extra leads, they can maybe make another 5 times the revenue they were making from their email list before, or something like that. That's enormous. Okay, great. What else you got for us?
The next thing, we mentioned inline forms and buttons. So we can share that. I'll just bring that up. So this is Paintable, one of our clients that we worked on lead magnet optimization. So I mentioned that your hero section, when someone lands on your page, should have a clear call to action button, which is this here.
So the hero section is basically the part that's above the fold, or is that the very first section? We have to define hero section for people.
So basically, everything that's above the fold on a website can be regarded as a hero section. So the first part that you see when you open a web page on your browser.
Great. So we've got here the overall headline, Learn the Art of Digital Painting. And then we've got a description about the lead magnet. Looking to level up as a digital artist, click the button to join our newsletter and get 10 free tutorials and resources as a welcome gift. Then there's a button saying download 10 free tutorials and resources. They click that, brings up the pop-up. Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's very front and center and very appealing.
Exactly. And when people click on that, this is a pop-up that opens.
Mhm.
So it's really simple. You don't have to overly complicate your signups. You don't want to do that. It needs to be as straightforward as possible. So just their email and that's it. When you click send, that's it. There is actually one thing, GDPR. If you are doing business in Europe, this is important. You cannot offer someone something for free in exchange for their email address. What you can do is you can ask them to willingly opt in for their newsletter. And because of that, they will get something. So it's a play on words, basically. This here, basically GDPR proofing your opt-in.
Got it. So instead of saying, download our free lead magnet and we'll add you to our newsletter list, you're saying, join our newsletter list and we'll send you this free gift.
Exactly.
So it's which one comes first matters. Perfect. Okay.
So this is one example. Let's see what else we can show. So we mentioned inline graphics.
Yeah, this is something I see very few people do and people don't necessarily understand. So to go back to it, an inline opt-in form means you're reading through the blog post and maybe halfway down, there is an advert effectively for the lead magnet. So there's some description here. We've got a picture, we've got a headline, we've got benefits or what they're going to get in the download for the 28 portrait brushes, and then a button to click to download it. Okay.
And all of that proved to be very, very good in terms of lead magnet optimization. Here are just some examples of how it looks, different graphics. So what it did for us and what it did for Paintable, this is the result. This is not the current result, but we started from around 3.5%, and we have implemented step 1 here, step 2 here. Basically, we ended up averaging around 7.5%, but we did hit 9.3, 9.4% in certain weeks.
Nice. And so that's over the course of starting from February into May to kind of implement all of those different parts in a couple of stages. Amazing. So that's got them double the number of opt-ins, which is then over time going to double their email list and double their revenue. It's fantastic.
Is there something else that we can show? For example, another client we did inline forms similar to this one. Well,
so we've got here 7 classic retirement mistakes federal employees make, and then a way for them to opt in.
This here allowed us to go from around 1% to averaging 2.5%.
So about 2.5 times the number of leads they're getting every month. Amazing.
Yeah. I think that these are the most important examples that we can show. Maybe one more, actually, the bottom banner, something that we have added on our website, and it works really great. So when you scroll our website, you will see a banner that looks something like this. I'm not sure if you can see it because of the section here, but after you go down the page around 20%, you'll see a bottom banner that's sticky and stays with you that says we'll increase your conversions by 20 to 100%. Use the funnel revenue calculator, and it's a call to action button that then sends you to a calculator, and it works really good.
Nice. So what we're basically looking at here, step 2 is get that lead magnet everywhere so that people are always going to see it, because that's kind of the point of why you drove all this traffic to your website, to get people onto your newsletter list so they then buy your courses. I love it. Okay. So step -1, turn off double opt-ins. Step 0, know your numbers. Step 1, add the opt-ins everywhere. Put the ways to opt into your lead magnet everywhere. Step 2, check your numbers and optimize. Step 3, optimize offsite, YouTube, Pinterest, Instagram, LinkedIn, whatever. Step 4, keep checking your numbers, keep optimizing, keep refining. And if people do that, they can generally go from 0.5 to 1% opt-in rate up to probably 5, maybe 3, maybe 8, but somewhere around 5 for a lot of people, and therefore get 5 to 10 times more leads, and therefore make an awful lot more money and sell a bunch more courses and help a lot more people with what they're doing. That is awesome. Thanks so much for sharing that with everybody today, Josip. Really appreciate your input.
Not a problem. I always like talking about numbers and conversion rate optimization.
So if you found this interview useful, please give us a review wherever you listened, and come join the Advanced Online Course Creators group on Facebook. That's going to give you early access to all these interviews and support with growing your online course sales. Thanks, everybody, and talk to you next time.